the 311 app. Does everybody have it on their phone? And I see a pile of trash, because I'm not in my truck, otherwise I would throw it in the back of my private vehicle. I take a photo and I report it. Please report activity that you've got out here. Now, what I think will help, and is in part this response that we're going to do with LAPD, in part some of the work that sanitation is doing to hopefully make it more difficult to get back in there. But the truth of the matter is, we're going to get them back in there. So one of the things that we're doing that is going to be a little controversial real soon here in Sunland, Tujunga, maybe. How many of you all are involved with the neighborhood council or blooming squares, or who else has been using the building without a lease? Without a lease. So what we're trying to do is that Sunland Tujunga neighborhood council, Sunland Tujunga building where the neighborhood council meets, right on Sunland. Mm-hmm. It's a city facility and it is extremely underutilized. So what I've done in the last year is negotiate with two not-for-profits to come and become lessees of that location to hopefully improve service delivery up here. The first, which we've already inked, is the Los Angeles Conservation Corps. They are a not-for-profit. They work with at-risk youth, and they've been around for decades in Los Angeles. But they work out of the central part of Los Angeles, and they dispatch to different parts of the city. And the stuff that they do is tree planting, graffiti abatement, and cleanups. Not just sort of the bulky items and stuff in the street, but they also do the weeding and trail repair and this sort of thing. So in exchange for, I think, $1 a year, this not-for-profit is going to come and move into the Sunland Tujunga office here, and they're going to be dispatching and doing more work in the area. And so we're working out exactly how much that is. My hope is that we can get on the offensive and start doing some real nice trail repair with our partners in the county so that we have the increased amenities of the area that we all want to live by. But in the short term, it's not my goal, it is, they're going to be part of their lease, is to help us do more cleanups in the area so that we have less of the mattresses so that they're pulled into the wash, less of the sofas, less of all of that stuff. And so we have a great contractor, the Northeast Graffiti Busters. Sanitation, you've read about in the newspapers, isn't doing the best job possible to do bulky items. You've seen all of that in the news. So I want to do some more here with the Conservation Corps. They get independent funding. They do it in the city. I want them to do it in this community, which is why they're moving there. The other group, so that helps sort of the junk part of the encampments. The other part of the building is going to be leased in short order to a group called Los Angeles Family Housing. They are the official county contractor to deal with homelessness issues in SPA 2. SPA 2 is the county of Los Angeles. I'm with the city, but the county of Los Angeles, they mark their districts and these things called their county in these areas called SPA areas, service provider areas. And so each of those areas basically are mini governments that deal with different issues. But the thing that we're trying to deal with is the dollars that the county has for mental health service delivery and homeless service delivery, because that is technically, I'm not passing the buck here, this is their charge. The county is supposed to be doing mental health service delivery and homeless delivery. We're in charge of streets and trash and police and fire and that sort of thing. But the lines have been so blurred for the last couple of decades that nobody's doing any one job right. So LA Family Housing is the official contractor for the entire SPA 2 area, which is not just this area, but it goes into the Antelope Valley, and their job is to do homeless service delivery. So they're going to move into the building in short order. And what I want in exchange for a near-nothing lease is I want increased homeless service outreach and work being done in this area. Because as much as I have it in my entire district, this area is hard. It's very, very hard because of the wash and because of places like Hanson Dam and Sylmar and the trail system. It's an area where we have hundreds and hundreds of people living in, and they're tougher to pull out than they are anywhere else on the street. So that, by the end of the year, you'll see and hear about having two not-for-profits in that building beginning to do more service delivery. And it's no coincidence that I'm doing it right here in Sunland Tujunga, because, again, my district has a lot of these challenges, but the concentration is exceptionally rare in this area, so they're going to be there. So in the short term, that's how it is that we're going, short term being now in the end of the year, how I'm trying to be creative in trying to bring more service delivery, because I don't have the flexibility of changing an entire city budget. I fight every single time I can. I'll get to you in a second, sir. Every time that I can in the budget process, but the numbers are what they are. Until we start getting more money in, we're not going to be able to ramp up in all these sort of areas. And until the county starts doing more of its share, it's very difficult to go on the offensive. We don't have mental health service providers, and I hate to say it, but 4 out of 5 times when we talk to folks, they don't want to come in.
Yeah.
But that one person, that 20% that does, is a real victory for us, because they typically are folks who are ready and really, they're all in dire straits, but they're ready, and that is part of the success. I wanted to take Q&A afterwards, but I know you've raised your hand a couple of times now.
Just a really easy question. What would you estimate the population is in the Wash?
Hard to say. When I can tell you anecdotally what I think.
Yeah.
I think there's probably 100 people easily at any given time in the Wash. I think there's probably even more. When I walked in there with Foothill Division, we walked for about 45 minutes in one direction. We didn't do the other, and so I'm just taking that number and multiplying it by 2.
That was 2004, right, when you did that?
No,
Was that
not 2004. No,
I mean,
2015.
Okay.
So I don't brag about getting into the Wash, because I don't think that's something that we should be celebrating, poverty and these terrible situations. I get around here more than you all think. Now, you might see a lot on social media and this sort of stuff. We're trying to tell a narrative about the community, but I'm everywhere. It may not seem like it, and I've got my favorite places to eat up here too. So does the family. So that's what we're doing on the homelessness front, and I'm happy to take questions on that, and then we can talk a little bit about the proposed project that's that's proposed. Anything else on homelessness?
I have an issue.
Let's go back here first, the gentleman who's filming, and then we'll go over here.
Yeah, I just wanted to wanted to hear a little bit more about the services that will be provided for the homeless from these 2 organizations. If you could provide any more detail, no matter how small.
Hard to say. I mean, LA Family Housing, I'm not an expert in homeless service delivery. All I can tell you is that they're the contract. So every spa area in the county has a contractor that gets money directly from the county to do whatever their outreach is. And so one of the things that is happening recently, you probably read that the city council has established a committee on homelessness and poverty. Again, it's not to pass the buck, but we don't have jurisdiction over that service delivery. But we've created the council president has created a committee, and I think the hope is to start better coordinating with the county to make sure that whatever those services are that they're currently providing are synced with what it is that we're doing, and maybe even improve, because it seems to me that it's hard to say that the city has failed, but let's just say government has failed in large part to address the issue, because it has grown to epic proportions. Now, let's be fair about a couple of things. Again, a lot of this is the doing of some of these folks. It's bad choices, but a lot of it is there is still a huge wave. Well, I shouldn't say wave anymore. It's probably the foam of the wave of the foreclosure crisis. And it's typically those families that we find in the street that are willing to take the additional service delivery, because they're just at the end of the line. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you addressed it somewhat, but what's happening with the people that are living, the homeless that are living, it's affecting us on a criminal state. There's a girl, my husband and I have already reported it several times. She is tall, short, blonde hair. She lays in the middle of the street.
We have her incarcerated
Yeah,
already.
she's
Awesome,
off the
because
street.
twice, and when people go to her aid, we stop and call 911, but then her friends jump the cars and rob them. So that's happened quite a few times, and now another thing that's happening is we're beginning to see crime here from them wandering in our neighborhoods, stealing parcel posts, FedEx packages from our doorsteps. So the crime area is progressively getting into our area.
So it's important that that if you see an emergency, you always dial 911. The Foothill Division has a non-emergency number for non-emergencies, and that's why it's so important for us to record all of the data points if there's petty theft and this sort of thing.
Yes.
And so again, please everybody do that. Gail, you had a question.
Hi. In case you don't know me already, I've been a resident here for 21 years, but I'm also your region rep on the neighborhood council. I'm Region 2. Some of you know that, some of you don't. In conjunction with Felipe's office, we've done 7 community cleanups in the area. Some of you have been involved. Thank you. And also with regards to the woman's name is Sharon, she had a stay away from all the city parks. She was in violation of her parole due to arson and other issues like that. So she is in the system now getting possibly mental health as well, but she's off the street. But since the encampments have grown further in the 21 years I've been here, all the way up to Mount Gleason, now they've infiltrated for the first time ever Alpine Village, where Mark had people knocking on his door, and other people have had mail theft. Obviously, people, if you go to the neighborhood watch meetings, you need to have your car doors locked and have surveillance cameras and things like that. With regards to having the LA Family Housing, Mike, I'm very happy that you're having them come up here. The only concern that I have would be that it will be that our community becomes more of a magnet towards the other people, and they see that there's this wonderful place they can hide, where they never ripped out the bamboo-like bushes that they can hide in. So those are my concerns.
So let me say that, you know, I hear, so it's going to be very difficult to convince anybody who believes that more services is a magnet for more homeless people. In my experience in government, it is not more. I mean, we could do one of two things. We could bring more service delivery to deal with the problem, which we all, I think, agree there's a real challenge in the area. But when we do that, we get from people all the time, we'll do it, but don't do it here. And the truth of the matter is, the only way for it to be effective is to bring the service delivery closer to the issues. And when you see an increase in activity, rather, when the homeless see an increase in activity in enforcement as well as service delivery, it doesn't create more of a magnet. I mean, think of Skid Row for a second. That is a magnet largely because it, at night, forever, downtown Los Angeles, shuts down after 6 p.m. So it's a safe haven because there is no vigilance by service providers or enforcement. So I have to push back. It's not more of a magnet. I mean, we can do one of two things. We can sort of leave. Well, we can't do one of two things because I can't allow for things to be the way that they've been. We have to do more, and that more is being creative and partnering with not-for-profits and trying to bring additional service delivery. Liliana.
This year, the homeless count was 100, about 100 people in the wash, living in the wash. That was about the official count by LA.